Are you ready to be the best that you can be? Join hybrid business coach and consultant Charity Brown and her guest as they give you behind-the-scenes access to the insider tips and tricks that will help you take your business to the next level. Charity has an extraordinary approach to boosting businesses to break out of their modes, influence their industries, and become leaders of their packs. And she's ready to pass this inspiring knowledge on to you today. Learn how to change your game and build your business into what you've always dreamed of, right here on the Create Clarity with Charity podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Create Clarity with Charity podcast. I am so excited for our guest today, Bill Daniels, beyondfitnessonline.com. He's the CEO and trainer and helps people recover from injuries and also helps build strength and comes from a totally different approach of the neuroscience angle of rehabbing people. Hello, Bill.
Hi, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Great. I'm so happy you were here, and we all need to hear more tips and tricks about how we can eliminate pain in our life by movement and fitness. So I know you're an expert in that area, and I know you came from, a long string of being an athlete and really helping people also recover from injuries. I'm sure our audience would love to hear about your story.
Yeah, so I grew up in Massachusetts, actually. I live in California now, but out there I grew up playing all kinds of sports. I played baseball, I ran track, I played football, and eventually stuck with football. That took me into college, and I really got into working out in high school with the football coaches and the weightlifting coaches. And when I got out of college, I continued the workout routines and really started to learn more and more as I was going. And then it kind of fell into the personal training world and just opened my world to all kinds of other things out there. I really thought I knew a lot, and I didn't. But as I continue my career, I continue to learn more and more stuff. I learn something new every day, and it's tons of fun. So I really enjoy it.
Awesome. Yeah. Isn't that the truth? Our bodies are so resilient. People can go through like the most traumatic physical injury and be able to walk again and be able to get their movement back with having professionals like you help.
Yeah. And that's kind of how I fell into this. After I'd started my personal training career early on, I actually injured my back playing softball, and I went through all kinds of different stuff. I did physical therapy, chiropractic, acupuncture, and it's like some things would help a little bit, some things wouldn't help at all. And I finally got sick of it after, 6 months of not getting any better. And I decided to just kind of take the bull by the horns and try to figure out for myself what was going on. And amongst all my research, I started to learn all kinds of different things, which not only helped myself, but then I was able to use with my clients. And that's really kind of how I fell into this niche of personal training.
Yes. And that is one of the biggest effects of our country now is beating that pain monster of the back pain, right? Like back pain is like an epidemic. Yes. It's really something that a lot of us have been fighting. So in your experience, I mean, it's so nagging and like so debilitating when it really kicks in. What is one of your biggest words of advice for people that are suffering from back pain?
Well, it's hard to not let the emotions of it get you. It can be really easy to start to get depressed and really upset. You just got to keep trying different things until you find what works for you, because every body, and I mean every body, is different. Every person needs different stimulus. Every person's had different experiences, physically, mentally, emotionally growing up. And so that means that the treatment that you need isn't going to be the same for the next person who has exactly the same injury. So you've got to be patient. You've got to keep trying things till you figure out what works, and then you just got to be diligent about sticking with it.
Yes, I agree. With having a history of back issues myself, having a hemilaminectomy and a discectomy, I really tried everything like you. Like I did the acupuncture, I did the yoga, I did the physical therapy. I I did the daily stretching. I had a physical therapist. So, and I know, like you're saying, it's hit or miss. Like sometimes um, uh, acupuncture is one of the best ways to eliminate pain and long-term pain. And I had this really good experience with that. And since you focus on the neuroscience and healing, what's your take on that?
Yeah, same thing. So, you think about how all the different systems in your body, they really are connected. And from a neuro standpoint, you just think of everything kind of works in a loop, right? So you get certain stimulus, like with your eyes, you see something, and then that goes into the brain, and then your brain kind of interprets it, and then you have an output. You move a certain way as according to how your brain has interpreted that. So somewhere along that loop, you've got to figure out, well, what's not working, and then you start to put in the appropriate stimulus for that in order to get that loop firing again the right way. So
Yeah.
it's just taking it. Sometimes it takes patience, and it takes trying different things. Sometimes you've got to, poke yourself with a needle. Sometimes you've got to stretch. Sometimes you've got to do some strengthening work. Sometimes, what I actually get, I work a lot with people is on their vestibular system, which is your inner ear balancing system. And it's kind of, in my experience, it's a pretty delicate system, but when it's working right, it tells your brain which way gravity's pulling you. So as a result, the muscles that stabilize your posture and your spine fire a certain way so that you don't fall over. But if the vestibular system's off a little bit, then you're going to end up all, crooked. And there's now studies that show that people who have scoliosis as adults, 99.9% of the time had some kind of vestibular disorder as a kid. So when they grew up thinking, oh, this is straight. And then their spine changes accordingly. And
Oh, wow. That's fascinating. That's
so,
really interesting.
yeah. And the vestibular system has so much to do with so many different parts. It's involved with your breathing. It's involved with your vision. If anything's off in the vestibular system, it can cause problems that you would never think, oh, I got to go back and check the balance. So I do a lot of that stuff with people. If you ever go to my website, like you mentioned earlier, there's a little pop-up that you can take a quiz, and it asks you a bunch of questions on about your vestibular system. And you can take that quiz, and it sends me an email, and I can tell you exactly what I think's going on and what kind of stuff you could do to start treating that.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay, out there, our audience, go to beyondfitnessonline.com and take that test and see if you're experiencing any back problems or any problems, and go ahead and submit that, and Bill will get with you and give you an analysis on that. That's awesome, Bill. So that's great. So now that I'm on your website, tell me about your entrepreneurial journey. You sound like very educated, and, that you've studied this, and you've, had some really big successes here. Tell me about how this all came to be.
So back in about 2004, when I moved to California, long story short, I got a job as a personal trainer when I was working out at the local YMCA. And the fitness manager came and approached me, and I thought, all right, well, this will be good for now until I figure out what I'm really going to do. And that one thing led to another. I fell in love with it, and that's when I really started to educate myself more and more. After a year, I moved out of the YMCA and into a really high-end gym that out here in Walnut Creek, and just had massive success. And I was doing so well. I was the top trainer there for years, and I had as many clients as I could handle. And I always thought, man, maybe I should just go off on my own. Maybe I should open my own facility. Maybe I should go to people's homes. And I just was always scared to pull the trigger for years and years. And then COVID hit, and I was stuck. The gym was closed, and there was literally nothing I could do. And after things started to settle down a little bit after the first few months, I was checking in with some of my long-term clients, and they were like, look, if you want to come to my house, we can work out in my backyard. Some of them were like, hey, let's go to the local park. Some of them started setting up gyms in their garage. So I started going to their homes and just training them from home to home. And it's worked out amazingly well. So well that I reached out to everyone else that I was training, and almost all of them were were willing to take me up on that offer. So now I've got a pretty full book, and it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy being out on my own, and I wish I did this years ago.
Wow, that's awesome. And you're in East Bay, Cali,
Yep.
and you do home visits. So you don't necessarily have to have the high price of overhead, having a gym, having to have other trainers and, paying all the utilities and the overhead. So you have a pretty lean, mean setup there.
Right.
Awesome.
And even with my marketing's been super easy. I have my email list of all the people that I've ever trained, and I send out an email every week. And every now and then an old client that I haven't talked to in years will pop up and say, "Hey, come over to my house." So it's been really great. If you've ever thought about starting your own business and you've been scared, at this point, I wish somebody told me years ago, just jump in and do it,
Yes.
because it really has worked out way better than I ever thought it would have.
Yeah, and that is really the fear factor is what stops the majority of people from starting their business, that comfort of that corporate paycheck and, just being out there and taking the flying leap, even though they have the skill, they have the trade, they have the knowledge, they have everything it takes to have their own business. And it's just fear. And it's, fear is, a crazy thing because it's really just all in our head and we create it ourselves. And
Yeah.
if we just knew, just if we jumped, we could be successful. A lot more people would be starting businesses like this.
Yeah. And I think, just to be a little more specific, I wasn't afraid that I couldn't do the job. It was, where were my customers going to come from? And
Right.
I've learned since I took the jump that there are a lot of ways to really get in front of people. I have my own email list that I've had for years, and I've just stayed diligent about that. I make videos on YouTube. I've posted on other social medias, like on Next Door Neighbor and stuff like that. But then there's also things, I've been invited to BNI meetings and all kinds of other things. Like it's really, once you start looking for ways to get those leads, they're out there. And
Yeah.
and that was the thing that I think nobody ever really coached me on, because I worked in a gym. I didn't need to go find creative ways to get leads. People were walking in the door every day.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of ways to get creative, and I actually have found that I really enjoy the marketing side of being on my own too.
Yeah. Isn't it fun to get creative and just like
Yeah.
see, your efforts at play?
Yeah.
And that's a good pitch for BNI. BNI is a really amazing organization. It really helps. Did you join the chapter?
I actually ended up not joining because I got to the point where my book was so full. I
Yeah.
really didn't feel like I could take anything on at the time. But I'm still in communication with some of the people that I met there, and I know that that's an option down the road should I need that.
Yeah. So I see it's Beyond Fitness Online. So are you also doing online training? So you have like group classes, you have people join your group because you will max out your calendar if you're doing hour for hour, right?
I
So
do some, yeah, I do some online training. I prefer in person because what I do does require, a lot of times requires me to do some hands-on stuff. But I have trained some people online and had some success with that. So that is available if anybody's interested.
Awesome. And is that also, here's your YouTube, the Beyond Fitness Online on YouTube. You can check him out. He has some amazing videos here. Is this where you like lead them to, use some of your practice videos?
Totally. I have all kinds of stuff. Some of them are tips like, hey, try this. And some of them are actually me working with a client, showing you something that I do to help them. Like you can see the one right there that says, what do you do when your grip gives out? I was in the middle of a training session with one of my clients, and he was complaining about his grip getting weak. And so what we did was we stopped, I put on the camera, we did a 2-minute video of different kind of stimulus that I could do, something you wouldn't ever think of with traditional training, but it was more like stimulating the nerves. And then and you could see instantly his grip was 10 times better.
Oh, that's awesome because that is like, when you're doing dumbbells or using free weights and,
Yep.
you get the calluses, you get sweaty. It's like, I always just thought you had to use gloves, that there's no way to avoid that.
Yeah, there's so much that goes into all your movement. It's not just muscles. You got to think of the nerves and think of how the brain is thinking of things. And when you start to figure all that out and understand how it works, you can poke and prod with some really simple things. I think in this video, if I remember correctly, I used a little pin to poke, and I used a vibrator, like a little vibrating tool, to stimulate 2 different tracks in his neural system, and we did that for about 30 seconds, and it worked beautifully.
Awesome. Well, that's an amazing tip out there, because I know everyone who goes to the gym that trains has experienced that.
If you do like rock climbing, like your grip goes so quick. So things like that can be really helpful.
Yeah. So do you do like mindset and mentorship through with your training program? So you like also give them like, the healthy mind, healthy body type of routine as well?
Yeah, and I don't really have a spiel. It's more like just trying to have real conversations with people and kind of find out where they are, and really trying to get them in touch emotionally with what their goals are, and emotionally also with what they don't want to happen. And I find that oftentimes when they're actually able to emotionally connect to what they really want, they find the motivation to just keep going through the hard times.
Awesome. Yeah, and motivation is huge, right? Inspiring and motivating your clients, that's probably one of the number one reasons why they continue working with you, because you make them feel good or a value, offering lots of value.
Yeah, and I don't like the term willpower because I don't think that's a real thing. It's more about really being in touch with emotionally with what you want. And that's really been hugely successful for a lot of my clients.
Nice. So what is something that you wish someone had told you when you first started in this career that you learned on your own?
A lot of things, but definitely you'll never stop learning. That's number one. Especially if you really want to be good at what you do, you've got to keep seeking out information, keep seeing what's out there, what's coming out, what's new, trying things out, and don't be afraid to try something new and have conversations with people. Which actually leads to another thing. I think it's really important as a trainer. I worked in a gym where we had 20 or 30 trainers at a time on staff. And when I was younger in my career, I thought, oh, that's all direct competition for me. And I learned over time that that's really not the case, because I have my specialties, they have their specialties, and you can start to bounce ideas off of each other. I can go, hey, I have this client who has X, Y, and Z, and I know that this particular person is really good with that kind of client. And either I can refer them out to that client, or I can talk to them and get some tips and kind of tie it back into what I'm doing. And you create more of a network and a team. And I think it just makes you that much more powerful. So rather than seeing everybody as competition, see how you can partner up with people.
Yes, that is awesome advice, everyone out there. And I know we kind of all feel a little insecure when we start in business and we're like, oh, we want to keep our trade secrets. We want to keep our technique secret. We want to make sure that, we have the competitive edge. And, it really does pay to start networking with the competition, see what they're doing, get in front of their websites, chat with them about their techniques, and, really immerse yourself with the competition. And that's a big one. So like first year in business, I always recommend my clients do a SWOT test. So your strengths, weaknesses, advantages, and threats, or your opportunities and threats. And also do that for your competitor. What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? What are their opportunities? And what is the threat? And that way you can really key drivers in your business to make it so it's unique to your customer avatar. So who is your avatar? Your client avatar? Like, who is your perfect client? If you were looking and you needed 10 new ones, what would they all need to kind of have?
So I work with people who primarily have physical limitations of some sort. So that could be anything like an injury, post-surgery, things like vertigo. I work with a lot of people with vertigo, but who also want to lose weight. And generally they're adults. I've worked with some younger people, even some teenagers, 20s, but primarily my clients are in their 40s and older. I even have some people that I train that are, I have one guy in his 80s and somebody else that's 90. And
Wow.
yeah, and so it's really great because you can imagine as you get older, there's all these problems that people tend to have. They're afraid of falling, they can't walk well, and then you start doing some of this simple stuff, and and they're like, oh, wow, I never thought that if I just turn my head a certain way and move my eyes this way, that I could all of a sudden move better, and so you can
Wow.
train people that way. And it's really cool to kind of see the light in their eyes when they realize that they can move like they used to.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, that's so important. And being a yoga practitioner and is enjoying the mind, the breath to movement and moving slowly. It doesn't have to be aggressive. It doesn't have to be heavy. It could just be, like you're saying, a slight tilt of the head and a redirection of the eyes. And it's really you can realign your spine like that. It's amazing. That's so cool. I love it. It's very holistic what you're doing.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
try to make it as real to their life as possible. So whatever activities they try to do or aspire to do, I wanted to try and tie into that.
Awesome. So I'm here on your site again at beyondfitnessonline.com, and I clicked on your services area, and it talks about your pricing and your opportunities, your sessions, your bundles and things like that. Do you have a special, or want to talk about, like, if you're taking new clients, and you do take clients all over the US, right?
I will do some online clients anywhere. And then obviously if I'm going to meet them in person, they've got to be here in the East Bay somewhere.
Yeah.
Otherwise the commute's just a little too much.
Right.
But yeah, so I'm offering, normally one training session is $125. And if somebody is in the East Bay and wants to meet up in person, or if you're online and you want to meet up, I'll do a free session first. And then for the first 10 sessions, I'll charge you $110 instead of $125.
Nice. That's a great deal, you guys. I hope you go check out Bill's site at Beyond Fitness Online. And I see here that you have a ton of publications, and you also wrote a book, Digital Health Revolution.
I was interviewed for the book. I didn't.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. But there's a whole chapter in there where I talked about kind of the direction that the personal training industry is going, and how it can tie into online stuff and online training, and that involved with kind of coupled in there with healthcare and how healthcare is working.
Yeah, or not working. No,
Or not.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Why we need you, because healthcare is not working. No, I'm just kidding. I guess it is. I mean, there is a place for it, I'm sure, but I was trapped in that mad cycle with my debilitating pain, and having sciatica and having a bulged disc, and just pretty much my healthcare was just prescribe me 90 Vicodin and tell me to go home. And then that was about 7 years ago. So, they've obviously really came down on the health industry for, medicating people with narcotics and not really addressing the real issues like compression or just sitting too much, not moving enough, weight, right? All the things that we can fix ourselves if someone would lead us in that direction in the healthcare industry.
Totally.
But since it's very holistic, do you use treatments like arnica and, natural anti-inflammatories and things like that in your practice?
Occasionally, but not often. Most of the time I don't need it. Outside of food, maybe we'll talk about anti-inflammatory foods like garlic or ginger.
Oh, cool.
Add those into your diet, but beyond that, I find that doing things like movement, and then also sometimes working with the lymphatic system and just getting the lymphatic system to flow a little better can take care of a lot of the inflammation and the problems.
Nice. So do you practice acupressure?
No, it's more like it's actually way more simpler than it sounds. It's like, it sounds cool, but it's really boring.
Okay.
You've got the lymphatic system, and it's got two drains that drain the lymph system, like all the crap that the lymph system gathers from your body. It drains it back into the blood, so your blood system can take it through the liver and get rid of it. And sometimes that valve there will get stuck, and so you just got to kind of open it physically with your finger.
Oh, that's good to know. And that's right under your collarbone?
Yeah, it's like 3 finger widths over from the end of your collarbone. You have one on each side, and depending on where the issue is in your body, determines what side you use. But
oh, that's good to know, because my lymph nodes, I'm always like, oh, it's a little swollen. Like, when I'm feeling a little like overly exerted, or I might be coming down with something, I got like swollen lymph nodes. So,
You can pump that. And
that's great to
but
know.
yeah, and there's actually one of the first videos on my YouTube channel is all about that. It shows you exactly how to do it.
Oh, cool. I'm going to go check that out. That's awesome. I love that. I also see on here you have some products like this Metabolic Synergy 360. Is this you also help people with weight loss, obviously, up the metabolism, get them like recalibrated. Do you have a diet plan and that kind of stuff with your trainings?
So I am partnered with Designs for Health, who is, they're a pharmaceutical grade supplement company, and they make fantastic products. So what I'll do is when somebody is stuck with something, that can be treated nutritionally, I might turn to this and give them some recommendations. I have specials every month that I put out there. This month is all about controlling your blood sugar. So if you're, diabetic, pre-diabetic, or your blood tests have shown that your blood sugar is high, some of these products will be really great. In terms of actually doing nutrition, I do some nutrition coaching with, sometimes people just want just nutrition coaching. I do some level of nutrition coaching with almost all of my clients while we're training as well.
Awesome. Yeah, because it really goes hand in hand, right? Like you can't just go to the gym every day and then go eat pizza
Right.
and like
Can't really do one without the other.
yeah. Yeah. So that's like also that holistic approach, really seeing the body as a a whole unit. It's not just about how many pounds you can lift, but really a very intricate system.
Right.
And I love that approach that you have. And a lot of people have given you a lot of notoriety for that. You've been in several publications and blogs. Do you have the publications on your website? People can see like the articles that have been written. And
So if you go to my about section, you can see all the articles and stuff that I was interviewed in. It's all the way on the bottom. And then I write a blog. I try to do at least once a month. I write a blog. It's in my stories as well, where I dive into one topic and kind of give you some tips on that.
awesome. Oh, you have a ton of testimonials. Yeah, it looks like you've been featured in several magazines, upcoming fitness magazines on the West Coast, the East Coast, the Bay Area, all around. That's awesome. Looks like you've done an incredible amount of work here and just a ton of authority. So if you guys want to look up Bill and see what he's been up to, he's really been making history here in regards to his training. So once again, before we go here, if you have any advice or advice from your mentors or coaches that may have like guided you, you might want to give a shout out to and give a word of advice to the audience.
Yeah, I mean, my mentor was my weightlifting coach in high school, and he really kind of sparked my interest initially in exercise. And sadly, he's passed away. He was a little bit older, but he was fantastic. That was Huey Hamilton. But the just keep plugging away. If I've learned over time, especially like this, I'll give you an example. When I have a new client and they say, "Hey, I want to lose weight. My knee hurts, and I need to change my diet." I don't dive in and change everything at once because that's too overwhelming. And the same thing applies to whenever you're starting your business. Just one step at a time. Take care of one issue. Once you have that settled, just take the next step and the next step and the next step. And all of a sudden you'll look back one day and you'll say, wow, I've really started to build something here. So rather than overwhelm yourself and just kill yourself mentally and emotionally, just start slow and know that as long as you're moving forward, you're still moving forward no matter how fast you're going.
That's awesome. Yes, folks, it's a journey, not a race, right? So make it fun, be kind to yourself, and just don't give up, because the ones that win the race are the ones that just keep falling forward if they have to. Yay. Awesome, Bill. I loved having you on the show. You're a real inspiration. I love what you're doing, helping people with pain, and because it really can be debilitating and ruin people's lives, and they need all the help and support that they can get and to be well. So we need more of you out there. So everyone go check out beyondfitnessonline.com, reach out to Bill, take the quiz and see if he can help you get fit and stay pain-free. Have a great day. It was great having you, Bill. Thanks again.
This was great.